Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The subject of the discourse today is Loka Dhamma Sutta, that is Loka Dhamma, the 8 worldly conditions. Now this is the discourse. This discourse was delivered by Buddha while he was staying in Savatthi, and it's about the nature of the world. See, this sutta is a part of the series we have undertaken for this Vasavasa, that is the rains retreat, 3 months rains retreat. During this retreat we'll deal with the first discourse of the Buddha entitled the Dhamma Chakka Pavattana Sutta. The discourse of the turning or setting in motion the wheel of truth. That is the first sutta when translated. Is the so during this retreat, 3 months retreat, we'll be dealing with that sutta, and today's discourse, the sutta will be a part of it. It has been translated by us, and we'll read it out for the benefit of and then we'll dilate on this subject. Now the subject is Loka Dhamma, the 8 worldly conditions. Here the Buddha says, monks, there are these 8 worldly conditions which keep the world turning around, and the world too turns around these 8 worldly conditions. What are the 8? Gain and loss, fame and disrepute, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. Monks, these 8 worldly conditions occur both to an uninstructed or wrongly instructed worldly person. And they also occur to a well-instructed, enlightened, noble disciples. Now, regarding these conditions, what is the distinction, the disparity, or the difference between a well-instructed, enlightened, noble disciple and an uninstructed or wrongly instructed worldly person? Lord, our understanding of these things is rooted in the Blessed One. It has Blessed One as the guide and the resort. Therefore, it would be good indeed, Lord, if the meaning of this statement is explained by the Blessed One himself. And having heard from him, the monks will bear it in mind. Well then, monks, carefully listen and be attentive. I shall now speak. Yes, Lord, replied the monks. The Blessed One then spoke thus, monks, when an uninstructed or wrongly instructed worldly person comes upon gain, he does not reflect on it thus. This gain that has come to me is impermanent. It is bound up with suffering, and it is always subject to change, and that too change for the worse, vicissitude. And this because he does not understand the nature of these worldly conditions as they really are. Likewise, it is when he comes upon loss or upon, let's say, fame or disrepute or praise or blame, pleasure or pain, is the same. Because he does not understand their true nature. See, he does not wisely reflect upon them. So the sutta continues, he says, when gain comes, for instance, he is elated. And when he faces loss, he is dejected. When fame comes, he is elated. And when he faces disrepute, he is dejected. When praise comes, he is elated. And when he faces blame, he is dejected. Likewise, when he experiences pleasure, he is elated. And when he experiences pain, he is dejected. Thus, being fully involved in likes and dislikes, he would not be free, or he would not be freed from birth, aging and death, from sorrow and lamentation, from pain, grief and despair. And I declare that he would not be freed from the sufferings of worldly existence. But monks, when a well-instructed, enlightened, noble disciple comes upon gain, he reflects wisely on this in this manner. This gain that has come to me is impermanent. It is bound up with suffering and subject to change. Likewise, he will also reflect when he faces loss or when he comes across fame or disrepute, praise or blame, pleasure or pain. He clearly understands all these things as they really are, and they do not therefore engross his mind. Thus, he would not be elated by gain or dejected by loss. He would not be elated by fame or be dejected by disrepute. Elated by praise or dejected by blame. Elated by pleasure or dejected by pain. Having thus given up both likes and dislikes, he will be freed indeed from birth, aging and death, from sorrow and lamentation, from pain, grief and despair, and I declare he will be freed from sufferings of worldly existence. Monks, this is the distinction, the disparity and the difference between a well-instructed, enlightened, noble disciple and an uninstructed or wrongly instructed worldly person. Then he recited this verse: gain and loss, fame and disrepute, praise and blame, pleasure or pain, these things are ever transient in human life and bound up to change for the worse. A mindful and wise person discerns them well, and being observant of their changefulness. Pleasant things do not fascinate his mind, nor again the unpleasant deject him. All likes and dislikes are dispelled by him. They are eliminated and abolished. With clear understanding of that transcendental state, that stainless, sorrowless, transcendental state of Nibbana, the ultimate state of freedom. He now fully comprehends reality. Being one, he has reached the beyond, having gone beyond all the pairs of opposites, the dichotomies of the world, of worldly existence. Now this is the translation of the Loka Dhamma Sutta. We have mentioned that this part, it forms part of this series. Today is the third of the series. Now, last time we discussed about these the 8 Loka Dhammas also, but from a different standpoint, you see, from a different angle. It will be worth examining what we have already discussed last time. So we'll recall it. Now, what we mentioned discussed last time was the scene of Asoka's plundering of the kingdom of Kalinga. A few words about Asoka would be useful. Now, Asoka became the emperor of Magadha, and indeed a very famous emperor in his later days, but he was known as Asoka the Fierce, Chanda Asoka, Asoka the Fierce, because he was a militarist, he believed in war, he believed in grabbing the territories of other countries, and he had really expanded his kingdom, which extended right up to Himalaya in the north and Vindhyachala in the south, and up to Kalinga now, that is up to the sea, eastern sea, and Afghanistan, Gandhara, west. It's a huge area. Actually, before he became the emperor, he was only a governor of that area, the frontier province today in Pakistan and part of Kashmir. So, his grandfather, Chandragupta Maurya, he won this area. He had challenged the Macedonian king Alexander, who had come and attacked that area. He fought and he won, and Alexander had to retreat. So, from that time, the Gandhara came under the rule of this particular kingdom, and they became very, very powerful in North India. They practically covered the entire North India. So now he was a governor, and though he was the youngest son, but he was a genius in military science. So he was appointed by his father. He conquered a lot of area there, and he built up a huge army of these fierce tribal people of that area. Even today they are known for their love for fight and war. So now Asoka, when his father was in the deathbed, he decided to become himself the king. Though he was only a junior, he was the last. And there was a struggle, and he won. He killed all his brothers. And this is the story of the man. So, however, now, after his father's death, he attacked Kalinga. He had brought his army all the way from Afghanistan and went and attacked. Kalinga was a very, very prosperous country. It had many ports, and there was a lot of foreign trade through this territory, this region. And Ashoka, he won the war, but he lost his mind. So when he came to see the Kalinga, he went and inspected the battlefields, various battlefields. He was so shocked and he was literally devastated within, seeing vast area becoming just in desolation and empty areas. Once great cities and towns, now empty. People had all left and run away. A large number of people had died, more than 1 million. So it so happened that when he was making an assessment of how he would go about reconstructing the area and build up those ports again, now he completely lost his ability to sleep. For 7 days he could not sleep. So on the 8th day he was practically mad, he was crazy. So in the midnight he got up. He had his big camp and the army with him. And just by the side of the camp there was the cremation ground for the royal families and so on, and the ministers and the big people. So there he was roaming about without knowing that this is a cremation ground. Dead silence in the cremation ground, and he was moving about. Suddenly a sound appeared, and the sound said, "Devanam Piya, come here, there is peace here." He said, I am an emperor. Who dares to call me by my private name, my personal name? Only my parents can do that, and they are no more. So he was he became angry, completely upset. He pulled out his sword and he said, "I am going to behead this, whoever is the fellow." And he followed. Then again the sound came, the same thing. So he followed. Now he knew which direction is coming from. And as he went there, third time when it was going quite close, again the third time, but this time very reassuring sound. It didn't sound very hostile or anything like that. He said, "Ashoka, there is peace here, please. Please come and sit down." There he saw a banyan tree, a huge banyan tree, and underneath a figure sitting, very peaceful figure, a monk, a young monk. And who was this monk? His name was Nikrodha. And he was actually his own nephew. He had killed his Nikrodha's father, the eldest, who would have been the king. And now he had become a monk earlier, even when father was there. And he had become an arahat and a fully enlightened disciple of the Buddha, endowed with all kinds of supernormal powers, very wise indeed, and full of compassion for the new king, and now an emperor. So he said, "Majesty, please be seated in this beautiful carpet, grass carpet. You will find peace. You will relax. Don't worry. Sit down." Now when he said like this, all his anger and everything evaporated. He said, well, he just sat down. He just obeyed for the first time. Ashoka had never obeyed anybody on earth, or for that matter maybe the heavens. But now he obeyed. Quietly he sat down. Now this monk focused his mind. He started meditating on universal love, metta bhavana. It's a technique of meditation which focused on loving kindness or universal love. So a selfless spiritual love. And it was so powerful. He felt that he was as though he has plunged into something very serene, very tranquil and very calm. And lo and behold, he slept. It was around midnight. So he began to snore and he was sleeping. All the sleep he had lost for a week, all that restored. So around 3 or 3:30 or 4, just before dawn, he woke up. And there the monk said, "Now, Majesty, be calm. Wake up, be happy." When he says, "Be happy," Ashoka began to not only smile but laugh, and he was so happy. And literally the words of the master, of this great monk, you see, overwhelmed him with his love for him. Now he had killed his father, but for an arahat, for a holy one, an enlightened, liberated saint, for him those things did not matter. He loved all equally. So he said, "My dear, you have now become," he called him "my dear." Ashoka melted. It was a powerful emotion. He began to cry. He had never cried. My goodness, he is a ferocious militarist. And now, in that atmosphere, that emotional, you see, the ice has broken. And he listened to him with rapt attention. Now the saint Nikrodha says, "My dear, you have become an emperor. Your ambition, you had everything, you are a king of Magadha, but still you wanted to be something bigger. You wanted to be a paramount ruler of the whole of this entire land of Jambudvipa, the name of India at that time. So, now you have become. So you have gained what you wanted. But at what cost, my dear? This devastation, this great country of Kalinga, which is now desolate and absolutely, completely destroyed, devastated. Isn't it your loss? You are the monarch of the area. So gain and loss go together. Wherever there is gain, there is bound to be loss. In modern times, for instance, our politicians, they are fond of power. They are power hungry. But they don't have time even to talk to their children. They are all the time busy 24 hours and busy for nothing. After all, they are in that seat for maybe 3 years or 4 years or whatever. After that, they just become zero. Now, the very powerful president of the United States, now he is no more a president. He was powerful. Now he is just an ordinary man. Now the present one also will become like that. So all the big so-called powerful people all over the world, if you see, so gain and loss in their lives is very, very clear indeed. Big millionaires, all billionaires nowadays, they have so much, still they run after more. And they lose peace of mind. The more they have, the more they want, the less peace they have. The less. More they lose. Their own private lives are very often wretched. So in this dichotomous world, the world of pairs of opposite rule everywhere. The life of the man who is poor and absolute down and out, he has nothing. He is very unhappy because he has nothing. The man who has everything, and he too is very unhappy because he has everything. So now, if life has to have some meaning, it will have that meaning only if life means something meaningful, something that is worthy. Everybody seeks happiness. And if by gaining you lose your happiness, what is there? And if by losing you lose your happiness, what is it? What is there? Then there is no meaning in life at all. So, here in this sutta Buddha says, you see the difference between an uninstructed and unworldly type of individual, a selfish, self-centered person. All the time, I see, is thinking about himself, an absolutely irreverent person who has no use for ethical principles or spiritual values or anything of that sort. Now, such a person, if he is after something, gain of some kind, then even if he gains what he gains, it becomes a loss. Because he loses his peace of mind after gaining what he gains. He has no security, sense of security, or worth, sense of worth, or any sense of meaning in life. So if life has to be truly meaningful, then everything must be experienced in a way that wisdom rules life, not unwisdom. Now if you reflect, now when you have some gain and you say, look here, life itself is impermanent. One is born only to die. We have disease, we age, we suffer because we are born. So if you are in a dimension where there is no disease, no pain, no suffering, no aging process, no worry, no running after things, and there is great peace and a blissful life because you seek nothing and you lose nothing. Seek not, lose not. Great saying. People keep on seeking and therefore losing. As simple as that. So if you are a wise person, well instructed, spiritually instructed, you have got a good teacher who puts you on the right path, and he says, look here, people, when you get something, let it be anything, a piece of soap or $100 billion. Think what will happen to it. After all, you are not carrying with all that money. It will only become a burden. You have to go one day. The only thing that is bound to happen is death. And the only thing which is most uncertain is living itself. once this experience become, you see, very clear, is profoundly absorbed within, then this dichotomy, running after the pairs of opposites, gain and loss, name and fame and disrepute or notoriety, praise and blame, happiness and misery. So he explained to Ashoka, well, great emperor, you have gained in this war. You are a great hero to your military officers and others. My goodness, your fame has soared. All over those who care about power and position and status and all worldly things, for them you have become very famous in their eyes. And at the same time there are hundreds and thousands of people who have lost their dear ones, lost their homes, lost this, lost that. You are hated. You see. So that's a great loss at the same time. As you gain, so you have lost also. They hate you. They don't love you. So these 8 conditions of worldly existence, they are there from the time you are born until you die. They are going to stalk you, they are going to dog you all the time. You will be placed under these various circumstances. Either you gain or lose, or somebody blames you, or somebody praises you, or you enjoy something and you see some pleasure or some pain. These opposites are going to be there all the time. Life is surrounded by them. And they surround life, and the world is surrounded by them, and they are also surrounded by the world, so to say. That is interdependent. They are mutually dependent. They are inseparable. That being the case, it makes sense that we become mindful with reference to all these 8 conditions of life. And there, mind you, the question of religion, question of this theory, that theory, you see, that somebody has created you, or there are no creation, nothing. It's an accidental thing, or just a Big Bang theory of science. All these religious dogmas or religious, theories and all that, we must think deeply upon them. What for are they? If they don't bring ultimate peace and happiness in life, any amount of any theories, any of these, all the quarrels, now religious wars and hatred become very rife throughout the world now. There is no peace, and religion is supposed to bring peace. And religion has become the cause for the loss of peace. Now those who are wise want to get something out of life before they quit. It makes sense that you think about it. Whatever you want, ask yourself why you want it. And if it is necessary, very good, you have it. But then know that it is impermanent and it is liable to bring suffering in some form or other. If you don't get what you want, then you will be unhappy. You think by gaining something you will be happy. And if you don't gain, then you bring unhappiness. So think deeply about all these worldly conditions which surround life. And here there is no question of this religion, that religion. this ism, that ism, this politics, that politics. No. Simple truth, that is what Lord Buddha taught. That life is burdened by these eightfold, the 8 types of worldly conditions. And then, as soon as you practice yoniso manasikara, wise reflection on everything, on every, everything done, said or thought. As soon as you bring in this element of wise reflection, and there is no sense of I and me or this or that, no. Just plain the truth behind everything, the reality behind everything, reality behind what you say, reality behind what you do, reality behind what you act. Ultimately, life can be reduced to just one plain truth, and that is action. Karma, action, volitional action, that is intentional action. An action has a potency. Let us say here is an mango tree. In season, the mango tree produces hundreds of fruits, thousands of fruits. At other times there is no fruit at all. But it has the potency to produce fruit, maybe for years together. Similarly, every action may not give its result immediately. So you may think that, oh, I can get away by doing this bad thing. I can kill, I can hunt, and say, oh, it has been created by somebody for human beings to eat. Now, if the same logic is put before put by a tiger, let us say, he says, look here, so and so has Brahma has created human being for me to eat. Do you accept his logic? No. But you say nonetheless that no. Brahma has created not only me but everything, but you see, he has created you, all these animals, for me to sacrifice you and get punyam out of that, out some meritorious power or strength, some merit, and there you are. So this kind of logic in the name of religion. It is time for every seeker of truth to think deeply. That when every action has a potency, which simply means that it is capable of producing a result. And that result can be varied. It can be in the form of producing a rebirth. When a person dies, the person encounters a situation where, for instance, a person remembers everything that has occurred in his or her life. From the time he or she is a baby or a child till the old age, just before death, whatever he or she has done or said or thought, every action occurs before the mind's screen. It simply occurs and you can't help it. Those who have experienced, those who have been doing, let's say, visiting hospitals and all that, and meeting people who are just before death, in their deathbed, suddenly they soon or before that, they say all kinds of things. And they're just death, you see, prior to death, the death proximate experience. My goodness, you can see how that person is going through all his whole life. And then that action which is very prominent and strong and which affects the mind, the potency of that action, if it is a good action, then the person is born reborn in a circumstances where everything will be so very sweet and nice and beautiful. If the person is born in the human world, he may be born very rich, very well-to-do, very happy, and with good parents, good chances of education, and progress in life further. Or it may be he or she has done some extraordinarily good meritorious deeds, may be born in the plane of the devas, of the divine beings, of the divine planes. There are hundreds of different types of divine planes, and may be born in those. There the life is indeed blissful and happy, far more happier than the human world. But then, to be born means it has to start life. And anything which starts also ends. Anything which has a beginning must also have an end. So even divine life of being born in the heavens is not a guarantee to be freed from the truth. That is, that worldly existence in any dimension, whether human plane or divine plane, or animal plane or a ghost or evil spirit, that plane, in whatever plane, worldly existence as such is fraught with imperfections, and it is unsatisfactory ultimately because it is governed by the law of impermanence. Nothing is permanent. Everything is impermanent and changeful, and nobody can controvert it. It is incontrovertible truth, reality of life. Now when Siddhartha experienced, Buddha experienced his childhood and then his parents and all, and he saw how impermanence has engulfed every form of life. So it's worthwhile thinking. So this man, before his death, he sees all this sort of thing and he is reborn. If it is a bad karma, then the potency of that bad or unethical action leads him to lower planes of existence. He may be born an animal, he may be born a ghost, or anything of that sort. So that life is not just here in the human plane, and we should not, be so dogmatic as to say that we only exist and there is only one life and no more life thereafter. These are all dogmatic, statements. They have no meaning at all. There are people who can remember their past lives and they can recall. Buddha, for instance, before he became the enlightened one, he recalled all his past existences and he kept in record. It's a historical document. It's a recorded document called Jataka. And he proved all those past existences and the people with whom he was associated. And with all humility, it may be mentioned that even I had similar experience. I had seen people who can recall their past lives and they connect their past, the past associations with the present. So the law, karma is not a theory in Buddhism. It's a law. It governs the ethical and moral aspect of life. So, now if you think at the last moment, if you have something nice, good, and you are born. So if a person, while he or she encounters these 8 conditions of worldly existence, and then thinks, well, look here, one day I have to go. I now accumulate so much of money, I'm a millionaire. Wonderful. And be puffed up with that idea that we are a very, very rich and powerful man. But if you say, when a day will come when I'll have to die, I don't carry this million with me. or a day will come when I am not going to be a chief minister or a prime minister anymore or a president anymore. I am not, all these so-called gain and wonderful things that people run after, absolutely badly and blindly, without thinking. If they only stand, just sit down, ponder and think, look here, these things are not going. Your life is impermanent basically. Nobody can controvert it. So when we can't carry, why carry the burden of so much of egotism, that power, the sense of power that money brings and political office brings, or anything, any gain brings. Gain brings always, there is the idea of I own. It belongs to me. Sense of belonging, sense of ownership. That big ego, that is behind all the bad karmas. All the evil karma people do pay, they kill, they steal, they commit sexual misconduct, they tell 100 lies, they set one person against the other. All kinds of evil deeds, unethical, immoral actions that people, do. And all this is motivated basically by this I sense, I-ness. And this fight about religion, my religion is the best, this is the last word. Nobody is better than me. This type of big ego in the name of religion, this dogmatism. Now, if only they think that religion is not a means, it's not an end by itself, it's means. It's a means to an end. The end is freedom from suffering, freedom from death. If you can think of a state of existence, a dimension of existence or higher dimension where no more death because no more birth. Death comes because there is birth. Where there is no birth, there is no death. Where there is no birth, there is no aging. There is no disease. There is no worry. There is no accumulation of wealth. There is no running after gain or being dejected by loss. All these eightfold worldly conditions don't exist there. In the dimension of freedom known as Nibbana. So when Buddha, you see, as a prince, as a heir apparent, he became aware of this, that everything is governed by impermanence. So why not seek for something, a dimension where there is, nothing is transient or evanescent. There eternal peace, no struggle, no conflict, no fight, no arrogance of power, arrogance of religion. I am the best, you are the worst. Baba, wonderful. So this kind of thing, all these ego-born experiences, if only one would think and find out, well, what is the so-called I, where will it go when I go? Where do I dump this I when I have to go? Or where will it lead me? So this way, in a practical way, wise way, if people were to think and reflect, a lot of suffering can be avoided indeed. So today I will leave it at this. The next topic would be of these the different types of pairs of opposites. We have only mentioned 8 of them because they are in this sutta, in this discourse of the Buddha. So next we will take up a topic which is also one of these. But it is called anta. Anta means end, the extreme. You see. Now, the path of any extremism, any lack of moderation, any lack of middle path approach, what happens? What are the basic extremes into which a human being somehow gets trapped? And how to come out of that? That would be the topic. May the blessings of Bhagavan Buddha, his Dhamma and Sangha surround your lives with wisdom. May you all be endowed with abundant wisdom and happiness. May you all be happy, Sukhi.